Hello, friends. Welcome to Empty Cloud Monastery, to Buddhist Insights live streams. Today we're here with Bhante Kusala. Thank you so much, Bhante Kusala, for joining us. Bhante Kusala is currently residing at a temple in Canada, West End Temple, right? Bhante
Yes,
Palace.
yes,
Right?
Western Buddhist Temple, Mississauga.
And we'll also type in Bhante Kusala's website shortly in the live chat, so you can keep in touch with Bhante and listen to more of his wonderful teachings. So without further ado, I'll pass it on to Bhante. We will be exploring this morning dependent origination, so lots of material to cover. Thank you, Bhante.
Thank you, Venerable Ayya, for this wonderful opportunity to share Dhamma early hours in the day. I am delighted to kind of be digging into such a profound subject early in the morning, but we will try to make it as simple as possible so we all process it nicely and gently without getting bored. So I like the backward presentation when it comes to dependent co-origination. The reason I said co-origination here, it is together arising, something that arises together. That is why we have dependent co-origination in there. Paṭicca-Samuppāda. Paticca here means dependent. Sang here means co. Uppada is arising. And if you do a little bit of background check here, at one point when Venerable Ananda was so excited about his understanding about dependent co-arising, he went to the Buddha and said, I understand it all. It looks so simple. And then the Buddha said, Mahevang Ananda, don't say that. Mahevang Ananda, don't say that. It is very profound. It's very subtle. Gambhiro, very deep. Duddha, so it's hard to see. Duranubodho, even harder to realize. So, and the Buddha has made a statement that the whole teaching is about the dependent co-arising. And when the Buddha kind of emphasized this to Venerable Ananda, he must have gone into deeper thinking and also went into a line of questioning to understand why the Buddha kind of put him into perspective in terms of dependent co-arising. So all of us monastics and lay people here are like Venerable Ananda. Now, in the presence of the Buddha, trying to understand the Buddha's statement as to how this teaching can be so subtle and so profound and so hard to understand. And think about the day the Buddha became enlightened. That's a place I like to begin with. He was battling with the Mara, the army of the Mara. Lots of enemies coming toward him, lots of arrows falling, lots of weapons falling, and he's seeing his position toward war and toward his defilements. So, being a royal person, he would have gone in that direction of war, and also becoming a universal monarch or someone in that capacity. And also, he can enjoy luxuries in life. He can go toward indulgence, karmas, all the sensual pleasures as a human being, the maximum of it. At that time, he could have enjoyed all that. So he was in a real war in his mind. As I always say, we live in our mind, which is an unlimited area. Even for the Buddha, he was really facing the trouble of passing beyond the enemy of the Mara. But then, when the Buddha was seated in Vajrasana, the diamond seat, as we call it, under the Bodhi tree, to defeat the Mara was speaking directly at him, asking, how can you defeat me? And what power and position do you have to defeat me? At this time, the Buddha really reflected on his powers of parami, that he has fulfilled 10 perfections, including perfection of generosity, perfection of morality, perfection of wisdom, perfection of determination, perfection of virtues, perfection of goodwill, all these 10 perfections. And he touched the earth to show that this is the power I have gained over the eons of um, wishing to become enlightened. And then the earth trembled. At this point, the Mara defeated and ran away. So the Buddha himself teach us in Anamatagga Sanyutta, endless beginnings. There, the Buddha speaks with similes um, how far we have come eon by eon without seeing an end of suffering. He gives similes such as the milk that we have had as as infants is greater than the four great oceans. So these similes have been given to emphasize how many births we have been being born again and again and coming this far without seeing the beginning or an end. And this understanding is necessary to see what made him think deeper and use his wisdom and knowledge and his position in meditation to reflect deeply on these subtle teachings. So you see, now Mara defeated that way with his power, bringing all his power back to him. And now he is also reflecting on, why people are being, subjected to birth, subjected to decay, subjected to illness. Why people go through jara, aging, marana, death, soka, grief, parideva, lamentation. So upayasa, despair. Why people go through this? This is the inherent existential sort of. This is like the question that anybody can have. We all feel this. We all age. Our body hair turn gray, the head hair, fall, and all these changes are happening to all of us. And this is a great place to begin questioning, like, why is this happening to us? This is where he began as well. In fact, when he renounced the palace at the great renunciation, Mahabhinishramana, he was wanting to find answers to these questions. As he saw an elderly person, a sick person, and a corpse, a dead body, and also a seeker of truth. He was already intrigued by these sights, and he was starting to kind of pull himself away from the luxuries, a calmer world, sensual world, and seek an entry into the uh, pure state of mind so he can do the best investigation that a human being has ever done on this planet. So he was still struck in with those questions about decay, death, aging, all these uh, questions that we all face, like all these nature's situations that we all face. Then he realized it's because we are born in different places that we face these natural cause of existence, such as aging and death, etc. We are born as human beings, we are born as animals, we are born in heavenly realms, we are born in hell realms, we are born in Brahma realms, we are born in all these different places, and all these places have aging, all these places have lifespan, and then they perish, they die. And now the simplest question he had has been answered. But then he doesn't stop there. This is the great thing about the Buddha. He still questions. He continues questioning. Then he asks himself, why are people subjected to birth? He realized there is a reason for this. There is existence, that people get pulled into kama bhava, existence in sensual realms, rupa bhava, existence in material realms, and arupa bhava, existence in immaterial realms. So now you can see, for someone to answer himself like this, he already achieved the jhana states in his mind for him to be able to see the non-material and material jhana levels, and people being born in such and such places. You see, this is also at the first watch of his enlightenment night. He was seeing people sort of going through uh, births and death, births and deaths. And he himself reflected on his own past existences. This is the first thing he did, that he examined the previous births of his own. And then he applied it to other beings. Are other beings also going through the same thing? And he realized, yes, Chuti and Utpatti are happening to all beings. And then he also inquired, how do we end this? How do we see an end? All these were happening to him at that night as he was reflecting on dependent co-arising nature. Now, when he realized that people are born in sensual realms, kama bhava, and then rupa bhava in material realms, and then immaterial realms, arupa states, then his question was answered, like, uh, people are born because these existences, different bhavas, support their uh, respective birth situations. And then he asks himself, what is the reason for bhava, existence? What is the reasons for existence? That was answered this way. Upadana paccaya bhavo, because of clinging, there is existence. You cling to wherever your mind happened to be. If you practiced even to the level of Alara Kalama, Uddakarama Putta, and Gautama Buddha, that he saw the danger that you can get attached to that state of the mind, to immaterial existence, such as nothingness and neither perception nor non-perception. When you have developed your mind that far, these immaterial states fool you, deceive you, to think that this is the end, that you can't go any further. And this also puts an end to your striving, so that you accept it as your destination. And this is why practicing deeper samadhis are important, so you can see that you yourself can fall prey into these situations unless wisdom has been revealed to us through a supreme enlightened person like the Buddha. So then he started questioning. People get clinged, people get upadana, people get cling to different existences. That is why they are born. Even a worm in cow dung, you try to pull it away from it, saying, "This is not the place for you. You become born as a human being." But the worm would go back into cow dung, saying, "No, no, no. I love this place. This is perfect. This is what I wanted." I like the warmth of this. So they admire that they have achieved that far, and they take pride in it. Now, upadana pacha bhava, because of clinging, there is this existence, different existences. So, what is the cause? What is because of what does clinging arises? Hmm. And then he realized, tanha pacha upadana, because of craving, there is upadana, there is clinging. You crave to something. Craving simply is liking and disliking or ignoring the truth. And in any of these situations, you have fallen into craving. Your desires are working. The underlying causes have not been seen by you. So you realize that it's because of craving, it's because this tanha being manifested that you cling to it. Now you see things dependently co-arising. And what is the reason for craving? So he asks that question. Vedana pacha tanha, because of what we feel about our experiences, what we feel as pleasant, what we feel as unpleasant, what we feel, what we don't feel. Sometimes neither painful nor pleasant. So this is like neutral experiences. So these are reasons why we feel, and then why we get craving arising in our minds. Now you see the way things, when we inquire backward this way, we find these answers. I'm sure we are using the wisdom of the Buddha here. We are, if we tried it ourselves, I'm sure we may have stopped at perhaps jati place, because depending on how much wisdom and ability of samadhi that you have cultivated, the knowledge that you have may be limited for you to start this kind of line of questioning. Anyway, before I expand, I'll continue this line of questioning again. So, what is the reason for tanha? So we also fall into kama tanha. Kama tanha is desire in sensual realms. Bhava tanha, desire to exist. Vibhava tanha, thinking that there's no continuation, that things will end at some point. So you enjoy as much as you could, because there's non-existence. That is the way we believe. So this is. This is also about where people are. If you go back to the roots again, like this very craving support different birth situations, like Andaja, Jalabuja, Sansedaja, and Opapatika. Beings are born from eggs, and then in liquid surfaces, wet surfaces, and then in mother's womb, even in animal realms, in mother's womb, and then spontaneous beings, that they are born spontaneously. Because you don't see it, sometimes people never believe that these things happen. It's like electricity. Just because you don't see it, you don't go and touch the active wires, because you have the understanding that this could be harmful to you. So things that we don't see in the unseen world, is a biggest hindrance for us. That if we start seeing it, then we start believing it. We start the same line of questioning with a rush in our mind. My goodness, where is my escape? How can I run away from this? I don't want to be born in an egg. I don't want to be born in a dog mother's womb. I don't want this. So this is when you have that urgency, somewhere in you, that my goodness, I'm seeing such danger ahead of me. Let me escape. You see, craving. You also start seeing craving brought you that far. So, what is the reason for craving? That's that's because of what we feel. So what is the reason for feelings? Right? Passa pacca vedana, that we come in contact with experiences. Because of that, we start feeling. If we never had it, if we never had any contact, then there's no way feelings can arise. And only someone who has practiced deepest level of jhanas, deepest levels of samadhis can see that no contact is even possible, that you stay without contact in the sensory or non-sensory realm, that there could be an escape there, the exit there. Okay, now you see, it's amazing when things fall into place here, that you will start seeing the contact experience. Let's take Madhupindika Sutta into our discussion here. In it, it says, Chakkuncha paticca rupecha uppajjati. Because of the eye and the form, uppajjati arises chakku vijnana, eye consciousness. Because maybe you are looking at an image, if you are not conscious of it, you aren't catching it. Now you are conscious, so you are seeing it. Chakku vijnana, tinnan sangati passo, going together of these three. What three? You have chakku, you have your eye, you have the form, and then coming into existence of the eye consciousness. Now, meeting of these three is contact, passo. You see, this is where contact is being manifested. And now, because we have contact, we have feelings, then why do we have contacts? Now, this is the question he asked himself at that point. And he got the answer. We have salayatana, 6 sense bases, and that is why we have contact. What are the 6 sense bases? Seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking. These things happen in your eye, ear, nose, tongue, body, and the mind. You see, these 6 are the bases where seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking happen. And if any of these activities did not happen, then there's no way you get any contact whatsoever. There's no way that samsaric contact could happen. You can also apply a deva, divine being, even in their existence, that if they didn't have seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, physical sensations, and thinking, then none of these, no contact would happen. So what is the reason for 6 sense bases, salayatana? Right? Now, you see, we have come so far to start to the beginning of this 12 links of dependent co-arising. We have consciousness, and then we have mentality and materiality afterwards. These two need to be understood very much with lots of patience. Okay? Nama Rupa is name and form, mentality and materiality. So Nama Rupa Pacha Salayatana. Because of name and form, then we have 6 sense bases. Because of consciousness, we have Nama Rupa, name and form. Now you are here in one of the very fun places of dependent co-arising. Now we were talking about 6 sense bases. I like to also share an experience of me studying in Italy, in Faculty of Cognitive Science, an American professor was teaching. He was teaching about five senses as I was learning cognitive psychology there. And at the end of the class, I went to speak with the professor, Professor David Melcher. He said, I asked him, like, are we ever talking about the sixth sense base, which is the mind? And he said, no, we can't see it, we can't touch it, we can't measure it, so we don't talk about it in these science classes. And then, I said, we always talk about it because Buddha has spoken about it. And then he said, yeah, Buddha is a smart guy. That was it. I didn't ask this question in the middle of the class, but I kind of, got curious. So I went to him and asked that kind of a question. I never forget that response he gave. The Buddha is a smart guy. So we are seeing the smart stuff here. I love that professor. He was an excellent friend to us monks when we went there. Anyway, now we are here with name and form, mentality and materiality. So you see, in your deep Dhamma understanding, form is obvious that we have a physicality, we have material form, we have Paṭavi, the hardness in our body, our earth element in our body. We have fire element, water element, air element in our body. Now, people have also done what percentage of which we have here. So much of it is water in our body. And when the body gets burned, water evaporates and the skin gets deformed and the color changes and we just become ashes, basically. Our body does not exist any longer. That's the nature of physicality. But then in your nama, in your mentality stuff, we have perception, feelings, we have formations. I remember going to Venerable Katukurunde Jnanananda, one of the meditation teachers who passed away, recently in Sri Lanka. Couple of years though. We were talking about perception, feelings, and consciousness, and he said, well, there's also formations that we need to bring here, although it is not discussed. So formations here means sanskara. But he had this wheeze, he was coughing at that time, so we didn't really go into details of that discussion, but I liked his response because we were talking about Nirodha Samapatti, the cessation attainment. So cessation of perceptions, feelings, and consciousness. And then he said Sankhara too cease. The formations too cease. So the reason I brought that up here is to understand, the five aggregates here. In five aggregates, we talk about Rupa, Vedana, Sanya, Sankhara, and Vijnana. In that we have Sankhara. Rupa is the four elements, the body, and then that is the physicality. All the rest is Nama, the feelings, Vedana, Sanya, perceptions, Sankhara, formations, and Vijnana, consciousness. So perceptions here, it means shapes and colors, that the way we perceive the world. Different beings perceive it differently. And formations here is what we have formed over the sansaric births, and we have formed Kaya Sankara, Vachi Sankara, and Mano Sankara. So Kaya Sankara is breath that we breathe. Vachi Sankara is Vitakka and Vichara. We have our thinking and examining of thoughts. And then mano sankara again means perceptions, feelings, and consciousness. Now you see different ingredients tightly connected together. When you don't have something to perceive, suppose you are in neither perception nor non-perception. When you don't have anything to perceive, when you don't even have neither perception nor non-perception to perceive, then you have nothing to be conscious on. So consciousness cease, nothing formed to exist. Therefore, experiences the ceasing. It's not you experiencing it. You vanish. You get lost. You disappear. We become the biggest losers, like Venerable Ajahn Brahm says. uh, we, we, we don't even exist there. We emerge from it later and understand, oh my goodness, this is what happened. Now you see that you came to the ending of everything, that your ignorance has gone. Now you see, if you come to our line of questioning here, there's so much that we unpacked. Where are we in terms of understanding the links here? That we were talking about the feelings part, and then we came to our sixth sense basis, we came to contact, and then we came to mentality and materiality, the duo, that they are together for the experience to manifest in any existence. But consciousness, vijnana, plays a huge role in this for the mentality and materiality to kind of link together. There should be this sangati of things together, that you need to have consciousness, 6 classes of consciousness: eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, tongue consciousness, body consciousness, mind consciousness. If you are not conscious in any of these ways, mentality and materiality won't meet. It's like there's no way to connect. So you see, consciousness plays a huge role here. And that you didn't see these causes and results, causes and conditions, hetu and phala. This you name as avidya, that you've had ignorance, that you are in darkness, avidya paccaya sankara. Because of ignorance, we had different formations arising. The formations like this kaya sankara, vachi sankara, mano sankara, the bodily, verbal, and also mental formations, that these arose because you have been ignoring the truths that we were trying to see here, trying to unpack here. And what is ignorance? Ignorance, then it's clear to us that we have been ignoring the truth. Therefore, we are we are we are not seeing an end to the anamatagga sansara, the endless beginnings of this cycle of birth and death. So here we have been ignoring that we have been suffering. This is the truth that you realize. What a truth this is, that we have been ignoring this suffering nature. And you realize you have craving as the manifester here. That what a truth, that this craving brought you to different realms, that you crave to exist this way, you crave to exist that way. And what you realize that you were ignorant about this nature, that craving is the bull that pulled the cart forward, that the bull itself hardly ever knows how to put the burden down, that we have all been fooled that way, that we have to carry these burdens all the time. And what a truth, that there is an escape. Now the truth is slowly being revealed to the world by the Buddha. And now, what a truth, that you can practice the middle path without going to an extreme ends, extremes, that you can you can come to the middle ground and practice the path until you reach samadhi, and that samadhi culminating in wisdom, in awakening. Now, you see, little by little we came to the noble truths, the four noble truths. And these four noble truths were revealed to the world because someone asked the question about why we are subject to jara, the decay, aging, why we are subjected to uh, getting sick, why are we subjected to death, why are we subjected to all these sufferings? It's because of someone who had all the ingredients with them, sila, samadhi, and prajna, that they found the answers to these questions. And for us too, we need sila, samadhi, and prajna, virtues, stillness, and wisdom, to unpack and understand these truths on our own. So I think that gives us about 20 minutes, maybe 15, for us to take questions from the audience. I guess this was clear enough. I tried my best to simplify this presentation. But if you have questions, feel free to ask.
Thank you so much, Bhante Kusala. Annamayam Namakataya Sadhukaram Namase. Sadhu, 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 anumodami.
Anumodami.
Thank you, Bhante. That was an excellent overview. I can't believe you actually managed to pack all that information in less than half an hour. Very, very instructive. Thank you very much. And Geeta has a question and says, Bhante Kusala, what is the most skillful place to break through the links? I have heard that between feeling and craving, when the six spaces contact feeling, where the six consciousness get involved. Is this correct?
Well, in most sutras, you find, for example, in Chachakka Sutta, that we discuss about feelings, we discuss about contact, we discuss about six classes of consciousness. And we also find that in Madhupindika and also in Nidana Sanyutta, all these are kind of taking you to your way of thinking, that maybe when six classes of consciousness or six classes of contact have been stopped, then we can break it. I ask you to kind of reflect on it this way too, that the breakthrough happens when all the ingredients are present in us. You see that when we have sila, samadhi, and prajna cultivated, in the case of the Buddha, he started his questioning from, just like we discussed today, from that place where he started questioning about why are we subjected to aging. See, that too is a breakthrough. And someone may question about, because we are Suttava Arya Savako, we have heard the Dhamma. We are not empty of a Buddha in this birth for us. So we have heard the Dhamma to some level, And we have the Dhamma, so we start with avijja, and we start with ignorance. And that too could be a breakthrough. Sometimes you go deeper into meditation, just like Gita Nona just said. In that, you experience, okay, now you are seeing 6 classes of consciousness, 6 classes of feelings. What if I break here? But you see, that is good thinking, but it is the conditions, the previously conditioned state that experiences something deeper. And we have this taught in Vedalla Sutras, Majjhima Nikaya 43 and 44, I think. You find what disappears first, and then as a result, this is what happens. And later you reflect on things and you realize, oh, these things were preconditioned in me. I was programmed this way, and that is why I had this breakthrough experience. Now that I was in a deeper level of samadhi, I didn't have any thoughts there, because there's no perception, feeling, and consciousness. When you emerge from that kind of a level, you reflect where the breakthrough was, and perhaps you see the entry there was your samadhi and your consciousness ceasing. The problem is we can't get there by thinking. And when we start cultivating wisdom, every part of this wheel get weakened, and the wheel kind of lags. It slows down, and in that process, you can see that breakthrough is in every place, because you start reflecting on each of the 12 links, so you realize that all these are pivotal in understanding this process in Anuloma and Patiloma way, in arising and ceasing nature, gradual arising and ceasing nature. You reflect like the Buddha did, in backward way and in forward way. You see breakthrough is everywhere. I guess that helps.
Wonderful. Thank you, Bhante. And Edith asks, what is the best way to approach the anusayas? In which link would they be included?
So anusayas means the underlying tendencies. We have 3 underlying tendencies, in sensual experiences. We have karma, and then we have an underlying tendency for, we get pulled toward sukha aswada, and then we underlying tendency toward aversion through dukkha asada, and then we have avijja anusaya, ignorance, as we have been ignoring. We have not ignoring, but we are ignorant of it. We are unaware of it. You see that we take things as I, mine. So in this, that if you stop at craving, for example, tanha, this is where you see kama tanha, bhava tanha, and vibhava tanha, and you have feelings, vedana, kind of yoked together with it. And when vedana brings you pleasure and pain or neutral experiences, I think this is where you start seeing the underlying tendencies. If you didn't see that in your is that the word dormant, or like in your in sleeping nature, you wouldn't capture it. I think feelings place is the place to understand the anusayas, the underlying tendencies. I hope that helps.
Definitely did. Thank you, Bhante. Very insightful. And Anita asks, Bhante, please say a few words to a practice that one can put in place of being able to shift to awareness before the senses and mind hijack our awareness and the threshold of an experience, and we can reactively be unable to act wholesomely.
So this is asking about the practice, a few words. So we, so a practice that you can put in place of being able to shift to awareness. So we program our mind before we even get trapped into our habitual tendencies. We get habituated, and that every time you pass through certain experience of meditation, habitually you go into that experience, and that you are aware of it, and that is it. So before that happens, before even you begin meditation, you can program your mind that when you get there, your inner voice will tell you that go beyond this. Don't get trapped in any wholesome or any unwholesome state. Just let the experience cease. And perhaps that programming would come and assist you in your meditation. And when when you do that, when you are aware of that experience, your awareness itself can be a stumbling block for you, so that you start, instead of analyzing things, instead of even getting attached to that experience, see what, you know, see whether you can just be, and you fill with energy. Because if energy is lacking, virya is lacking, your meditation power will decrease, and you may fall, back into hindrances or some problematic situations. So I think your, if we say, like, in terms of your practice, it's unique to everybody, that you do metta practice, all these, like, if you read Metta Sahagata Sutta in Samyutta Nikaya, accompanied by loving kindness. Um, I think Bhikkhu Bodhi's translation, page 1609, it talks about you programming your mind, not really programming, you bringing your metta to Subha Vimokha, and then your karuna to infinite space, mudita to infinite consciousness, upekha to nothingness. You see, all these goals have been set for you, and you practice these with 7 factors of awakening. Sati, Dhamma, Vichaya, Virya, Piti, Passaddhi, Samadhi, Upekha, mindfulness, investigation of Dhamma, effort, joy, tranquility, stillness, and equanimity. And that brings you up into lots of confidence, saddha, that you are well equipped, and that your practice is on the right track, that you are staying with the wholesome qualities, as you mentioned in your question. Yeah, as you know, that you will also be letting go of both wholesome and unwholesome, so you find an escape there. I hope that helped.
Thank you, Bhante. And last question, is consciousness, in your understanding, always in relation to Salayatana, so the 6 sense basis, so nose consciousness, eye consciousness, all the way to mind consciousness? Or do you think there is such a thing as a primordial consciousness?
In the Dhamma world, we always find eye consciousness, ear consciousness, nose consciousness, and these 6 classes of consciousness explained. We don't see, I think there's nothing wrong when things put together, we can label it in any way as primordial consciousness, or mind, or thoughts, or thinking, and chitta. Here because of our knowledge that we have causes and conditions that we have found, we have discovered the ingredients here. We have discovered dependent on what things arise. You can see that even consciousness arises based on other things, right? You have I and then form, and you become conscious on it. And also vijnana nirodha, when consciousness cease, its perception, feelings cease, formations too, and then consciousness has no footing, that it also ceases. These are the reasons why that we that made us think that make us think that we are left with six classes of consciousness based on fuel. They arise, and when there is no fuel, they don't arise. I'm not sure if Venerable Suddhas or another Venerable would like to speak to the primordial consciousness based on the sutras, but this is my understanding so far about the consciousness. Thank you.
Wonderful, thank you. And Bhante Sudaso has a question, actually. So
yeah, on that point, Bhante, what are your thoughts on the Mahayana concepts of they add two more layers of consciousness? So the seventh consciousness is the consciousness of self-identity. So the delusional consciousness of self-being, and then the eighth consciousness is the Alaya Vijnana, like the which seems, as far as I can tell, to correspond to the anusayas, like this deep storehouse of tendencies and patterns in the mind. So what are your thoughts about these two extra consciousness concepts in the Mahayana texts?
Well, Venerable, there's I think there are reasons. Even in psychology, we have ego and stuff discussed because at different stages of time, they started developing their understanding based on what was available to them at that time. So Dhamma too evolved into Mahayana Dhamma, and I think what they are saying is, it's factual that we can say that it is a consciousness, that we are conscious on an ego, although it's not the ego that we are conscious on, but we have an identity. And the problem with that is, though, you think of me, a piece of me lives in you slightly differently than what I think I am. And so identity lives in different people's minds in different ways. So maybe that's why the Buddha did not present anything like that, but he did present mana, conceit, which is a thing that is let go by an arahant when they let go of the fetters. So he put that kind of identity into a fetter, much less into consciousness level. I guess that's one place we can unwrap this and understand. Maybe that will be a whole another discussion.
Okay, thank you, Bhante.
thank you so much, Bhante. And I know that you have to go for another Dhamma teaching. So we would like to, at this point, thank you so much for sharing the Dhamma with us this morning. And we can end with three sadhus. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. And Bhante will be sharing hopefully some more Dhamma on our channel next month, but also you can tune in on the West End Temple YouTube channel to be in touch with all the wonderful monastics there that offer many Dhamma teachings, as well as every 2 weeks, right? There's sutta discussion with lots of different monastics, including the monastics of Empty Cloud, sometimes when we can tune in.
We were wondering, the presence of empty clouds is like clouds are far away from us now. We need the clouds back in the discussion.
Yes, we definitely will be next time. We had a few stumbling clouds this past month, but it should be
more of a full cloud than an empty cloud.
Yeah, an actual storm.
Right.
But, thank you so much, Bhante Kusala. It's always lovely having you with us, sharing the Dharma. And you can tune in this evening on our channel to listen to another wonderful monk, Bhante Sankicca, this evening also sharing some words of Dhamma. All right, but I'll let you go now, Bhante Kusala, and see you all, everyone, very soon.